goes through the whole of hip hop. Actually, just saying as like a mantra at the start of every album, these people are musicians and we've got to take what they're doing seriously.
The special guest with us right now, Shabaka. Just came on to run the set, the amphitheater. Right now, he's just kind of digging through the crate, trying to find some fun records for us to jam out to. Right now, he chose Mad Villain from MF2, so we're gonna put that on next. The late great MF2, man.
So the next tune is going to be The Mystery of Chess Boxing by Wu-Tang Clan. So I had a breakthrough at some point when I stopped listening to hip hop lyrics. Stopped listening to them. I was like, I don't care what the narrative is. I started listening to rappers as musicians. And it's quite a conceptual breakthrough because it's possible to go through your whole life and listen to the words that people say and relate to the meaning of the words as like literal narrative, which is cool, and that's one dimension of it. But there's another dimension that you can sometimes overlook. As soon as you start talking about something, people start to get sentimental and start to position what they think the meaning of the thing is in relation to their own personal experiences. And then if you're a vocalist, it's assumed that you're not a musician. Musicians are the people that position notes in space, and vocalists are the people that give you sentimental gestures that make you think about times in your life or make you think about ideas, etc. But I find that when you don't listen to what they're saying, it really, it's beneficial, and I highly recommend it. Goes through the whole of hip hop. Actually, just saying as like a mantra at the start of every album, these people are musicians and we've got to take what they're doing seriously. I think maybe this is a good point to play the first tune off the Low End Theory. Back in the day when I was a teenager, before I had mics and before I had the pager, you could ask the abstract. Listening to hip hop, my dad used to tell me it reminded him of bebop. I said, well, Daddy, don't you know that things move in cycles? That's such a deep, opening line. And it really just says a lot about the fact that literally it's not the same thing in some dimensions of music, but those dimensions of music are equal to the dimensions of music for which it is very hip hop in relation to the music that came a generation before it, known as jazz music, if you want to give things a reductionary label.
Back in the days when I was a teenager, before I had status and before I had a pager, you could find the abstract. Listening to hip hop, my pops used to say it reminded him of bebop. I said, well, Daddy, don't you know that things go in cycles? Wait, the Bobby Brown is just an amber like Michael. It's all expected, things are overlooking. If they got the money, questions overlooking. Come on, everybody, let's get with the flow.
The next is a track by Burial, just because going back to the whole kind of British thing, I was really into Burial. But at a point when I wasn't really doing much production and I was heavily practicing my classical stuff, I did a classical clarinet degree. But I was going to all of these electronic raves. Burial, Goldie was doing a lot of stuff. Venetian Snares came over and did some stuff at some point. It just feels like a certain age where the things that I was going out listening to were a mile away from the stuff that I was in college practicing. And then there was the jazz. One of the things that I really like about this tune, and actually the period of time that this tune came in, is there seems to be this tendency towards sullied optimism as a poetic atmosphere in the music. And you can interpret that however you want, It might just be a certain chord progression that triggers us off. But regardless of what it is technically, that's how I feel. And that's why I've chosen the next tune. Or at least when I remember the tune in my head, when I look at the words on the back of the album, what it makes me think about is this sentiment. So, I actually thought it was going to be the studio version, but I'm glad we listened to that because it really is a testament to the fact that sometimes a diss track can spoil someone's entire view of what an artist is. Some of you might know what that means, some of you might not. But yeah, there's a rapper called Billy Woods, and he's got a chorus of one of his songs that says, "I don't want to see Nas play with the orchestra at Carnegie Hall." And whenever I hear Nas with the orchestra at Carnegie Hall, I just hear Billy Woods' disparaging voice sneering at the fact that actually co-option by the classical music establishment is seen as a point in the trajectory of an artist that's higher than playing to structures or people within their own community. I went to college in a classical institution, so in terms of like the way that certain types of music are regarded in the vernacular explicitly, but also in just the off comments, the assumptions and the mental positionings of the music around the golden music, which is supposed to be classical music as a cultural, signifier. I think the only way to really engage with it is a point where they come to us as much as we come to them, and just the mere fact of us collaborating being all that we need to do. So where does that leave us? It leaves classical musicians having to do a lot more work. I'm not talking about these ones on the Nas albums. I'm just talking about my own cynical observations from my limited experiences. And what does that work look like? I don't know. Maybe if I was in control of the orchestra, I would be like, every member of the orchestra has to learn all the lyrics, get an exam. It needs to be something that comes from an oral tradition. And what an oral tradition means is that everyone needs to really, 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 really know how our music sounds. The next track I'm going to play is something from Arthur Russell. Arthur Russell is one of these guys that, have really discovered his work later on in my musical life. And I'm really thankful for it because it just gives me something to look forward to. It's good sometimes, especially if you're a professional musician and you listen to lots of music, you can get to a point where you think, apart from obviously new bands, you think you've heard what's happened in the past of substance. So it's good to sometimes come across an artist that makes you realize there's a whole world of music that's really deep. Never underestimate Arthur Russell's capacity for clearing the dance floor, leaving space for the real heads. On that note, I'm gonna go.